I've got the flight bow test rig all set up now with the chrono and the lights. I've also added some weight to this back end. Front end I've got some weightlifting weights tied on there, and I've also braced it across to the workbench so it's a lot more rigid. I did a test shot to prove the alignment from a 24-inch draw, and that got 217 feet per second. So I think that discrepancy is probably due to it being more rigid, and also me doing a sloppy draw when I was testing it before. But of course there's always a difference between a machine shooting it and a genuine person. What I've done is I've made a set of test arrowheads going up 20 grain, 40 grain, 60 grain, 80 grain and 100 grain, and I'll add them into my lightest arrow. Just stick them in the hole at the end. There we are, that's the lightest arrow. I'll just put it in with a bit of masking tape to hold it in place. And that arrow was about 223 grains. I'm not sure I could get much lighter, but we'll see. I can always try it with no pile at all. But let's get some testing done. .40 grain point on it this time. Well, that's the final shot with the 100 grain point, 207. So you can see as I've gone heavier the speeds have gone down, but quite interestingly it hit with a hell of a clatter and seems to have broken the back end off the arrow. Not quite sure how that had happened, but no, there it is. Oh! So that's bye-bye to one of my flight arrows. So it's probably all that flexing it does, especially with the heavier tip. And that's not a particularly nicely tapered flight arrow. Well, it's a bit irrelevant now because it's what we technically call a smashed flight arrow. But it obviously took off all right and it landed all right, but it probably swung as it hit the target and then snapped off the back end somehow. Not sure, don't think it hit anything. Of course that's the only one I didn't video. There you go. I probably don't even need to plot a graph, but I will do. It looks probably pretty linear. The lighter they are, the faster they go. But is there a sort of trade-off point with the energy? Let's plot some graphs and see. Right, I've plotted a graph here, basically arrow weight against arrow speed. And you can see as the weight increases, the speed drops off. But the speed's pretty level here. And the other line is energy, half mv squared. But I've had to sort of scale the figures and convert them to grams and meters per second and Lord knows what, and then scale them to get it on the same graph, but it's the shape that matters. So you can see as we're getting heavier, it's carrying more energy, but we reach a point where we start tailing off. So obviously the optimum mass for an arrow is going to be somewhere around about here, where the speed's not dropping off too much and the energy is fairly high. So maybe here, I'd suggest that's probably good. The other point is, I hadn't reviewed that video, but now I've seen the high speed video, I can see the arrow flexing, which will doubtless be why the last arrow smashed, because with the heavier tip it was probably flexing a lot more. So it just goes to show that there's a lot involved in flight arrows.